Beneath a blanket of dust in his late father's attic, Michael unearths a tarnished brass lamp wrapped in plastic, cloth, and a desperate warning. Do not open. Some treasures were buried for a reason. I never meant to disturb anything wicked. I only wanted to empty my father's attic, convert trash to cash, and leave the restless ghosts of childhood behind. Yet the attic felt more like a tomb than a storage space, air stale as a crypt, rafters sagging, grey daylight slicing through warped shingles like knives. My hands were already raw from prying apart decades-old boxes when I found a cedar chest pushed deep into a corner, wrapped in mildewed canvas and bound with frayed hemp cord. Inside, cushioned by yellowed newspaper and the brittle skeletons of dead moths, lay something that did not belong to my father or to any age of mundane human history. A lamp. Brass so dark it was almost black, shaped like the stylized body of an ancient fish, with swirling silver inlay that pulsed whenever light struck it, even the feeble attic light. But it was the note taped around the body that froze me. Do not open. Do not unleash. There is a great evil within this lamp. Bury it where it was unearthed, and do not look back. Underneath, a string of numbers in precise fountain pen strokes. 24 degrees, 56 minutes, 12 seconds north. 45 degrees, 3 minutes. 1 degrees east. Latitude and longitude that, when I checked my phone later, pinpointed a spot in the empty heart of the Arabian Desert. I laughed aloud, a brittle echoing sound, because how else do you respond when life hands you pulp fiction melodrama? My father had collected oddities, an antique Ouija board, a phrenology bust, jars of coins from dead empires. This lamp was just one more eccentric bauble, likely worth real money if polished and sold to the right occult curious buyer. So I peeled away the plastic, unwound the cloth, and rubbed my thumb along the tarnished body. No smoke, no boom of thunder, no abrupt eclipsing of light, only silence. Relieved, almost disappointed, I packed the lamp in bubble wrap and set it by the stairs. Night was falling by the time I finally locked up the house and drove home. Sleep came quickly. Physical exhaustion saw to that. But the dream arrived even faster. One moment I floated in shapeless darkness. The next, an immense desert spread beneath a sky of bruised purple clouds. The sand shivered like the scales of some buried beast. A presence solidified in front of me. The figure towered 9, maybe 10 feet, skin a sickly pallor between rotting parchment and smoke. His limbs were elongated, joints bending at odd double angles. His exposed torso writhed with glyphs branded into the flesh, each symbol leaking black vapor. Eyes, 2 burning coals set in sockets devoid of lids. And that smile, too many teeth filed into serrated points. I am Jin al-Asa, he hissed. His voice wasn't sound. It was a vibration that rattled my bones, 1,000 flies buzzing in a glass jar. For 3 nights I will come, and 3 wishes shall be granted. No supplication required. Your hidden heart shall petition for you. I tried to speak, to ask why or how, but my tongue felt bolted to the floor of my mouth. The genie's grin widened until the corners split and dark ichor dribbled down his chin. Sleep loosens the leash of reason. What you dream, I shape. What you desire, I deliver. He vanished, scattering into a cyclone of ash. I jolted awake thrashing, sheets twisted around my legs, heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped animal. The digital clock glowed 3:07 a.m. My apartment was silent. Relief lasted perhaps 2 seconds before I realized I was not alone. Someone breathed beside me, slow, rhythmic, unmistakably human. I sat up, stomach lurching. She lay naked on her side, dark hair spilling across my pillow. Lena, my neighbor's wife. Recognition tore through me, followed by a tidal wave of double exposure memories. Phantoms at first, then vivid as daylight. Us laughing over wine stolen from her husband's cellar. The heat of our kiss on my porch. Her head thrown back in the flicker of streetlight. Lust I'd nursed in secret for years had blossomed into betrayal. And I remembered every stolen second, even though none had occurred while I was conscious. My phone buzzed. A text from my own wife, Sarah. Home in 10. Missed you today. Nothing in horror films prepared me for that level of dread. I shook Lena awake, babbling apologies, swearing something impossible had happened. She looked at me with slack, dreamy confusion that shaded into horror as she realized where she was. I barely got Lena into her clothes and out the back before Sarah arrived. But fate, cruel, cosmic, or genie-shaped, ensured disaster. Sarah walked in as Lena ran out the bedroom door half-buttoned. Screams, shattered picture frames. A wine bottle hurled across the living room like a grenade of glass and shame. Minutes later, Lena's husband, Greg, pounded on the door. His fists delivered a punishment my bones won't ever forget. I tasted copper, heard Sarah sobbing in hysterical disbelief, saw Greg drag his wife down the hallway and throw her into their yard. Then the world dimmed. I awoke in a hospital bed, ribs taped, lips stitched, skull throbbing. A nurse explained I'd suffered a concussion and 2 fractured ribs. While she spoke, my gaze hunted corners and shadows, terrified the genie might ooze from them. My phone lay on the tray table, dozens of missed calls from unknown numbers, probably police. Greg had vowed to press charges, but that was trivial compared to the apocalypse brooding in brass. I dialed Sarah 6 times, voicemail. At dusk, my fear of sleep became volcanic. I begged the night shift nurse, please keep me awake, strap me down, drug me with caffeine. She smiled the indulgent smile reserved for anxious patients. Your body needs rest, sweetheart. Close your eyes. You're safe here. Safe. The word tasted like poison. I lost the fight at 2:14 a.m. This time the dream desert was darker, sky clogged with malignant constellations that pulsed like infected wounds. The genie coalesced, limbs spider-thin, his head inverted, face staring from the wrong side. Wish to, he said, voice now deep as tectonic plates grinding. Your anger seethes. Shall I free it? No, I screamed. Leave me alone. I wish for nothing. But desire is not always conscious. Pain dulls reason, and anger is a radioactive isotope. Once created, it half lives forever. In a corner of my mind, Greg's fists still hammered my skull. I remembered his boot smashing my chest, spittle flying as he called me filth. I wanted him to understand my agony, to feel it multiplied. The genie's laughter was the sound of 1,000 locust wings. Granted. Morning light slashed my eyelids. Pain, worse than any beating, stormed every nerve. Sticky warmth coated my hands. Red. So much red. I sat in a hospital supply closet, scalpel in my left palm, blood spattered across my gown and the walls like obscene confetti. Sirens shrieked outside. Through the half-open door, I glimpsed stretchers in the corridor, paramedics kneeling over a body. Greg. Memories detonated, waking before midnight, pulling IVs from my veins, the slow pilgrimage across town barefoot. A kitchen window forced open, Greg's startled face, the bone-saw whine of his screams as the scalpel found arteries. I retched until nothing came up. When security burst in, I was crumpled on the floor whispering apologies to a god I'd never believed in. They dragged me through fluorescent hallways, slick with my own footprints, and into police custody. My cracked lips formed a single plea. Destroy the lamp. My house, please, destroy it. Interrogation. Bright lights. Mirrored glass. detectives emanating skepticism. I told them everything. Lamp, genie, dreams. Around the third repetition, the junior detective stopped writing. He pressed fingers to his temples, the universal sign for nonsense fatigue. "Look," I said, voice a shredded whisper. "Lock me up, shoot me, I don't care. Just smash that lamp." They booked me for murder, threw me into a holding cell that smelled of bleach and vomit. I'd been awake nearly 30 hours, adrenaline the only scaffolding keeping my mind erect. But human biology is tyrannical. Even on the cold steel bench, exhaustion seeped through bone, marrow, soul. I forced my eyelids open with trembling fingers. Stay awake. If I slept, anyone near me might die. Whole cities, maybe the world, because what third wish might birth from the abyss of my psyche? Hatred for myself. The simplest, purest, most lethal emotion. A guard passed, holster glinting. I lunged, brain fizzing with terror, and tore his gun free. Shouts exploded around me, but I pressed the muzzle under my chin. "Better dead than dreaming," I screamed. The taser prongs bit my back. Convulsions lit every nerve. The gun clattered away. My last vision before blackout was the guard, dialing EMTs, yelling to sedate me. He didn't understand he'd sealed everyone's doom. Under sedation, the boundary between dream and death blurred. I floated in an endless black sea. The genie rose from beneath, colossal now, wings unfurled. A nightmarish archangel sculpted from scorched bone. "Final wish," he crooned. "What does the heart howl when hope is flayed?" "I wish none of this had happened," I whimpered. "I wish I'd never existed." "But you do wish for ending," he countered, talons tracing circles in the void. "You wish for silence, eternal, absolute. Your despair is a detonator. Shall we ignite it?" Tears boiled off my cheeks. "Yes," I breathed. "End me." "Your wish," the genie said, "is my command." Reality reassembled around the scent of gasoline. Alarms howled. I lay strapped to a gurney in the hospital's psychiatric wing, IV lines snaking into my veins. Flames licked the curtains. An orderly staggered past, hair alight like a torch. The genie stood at the doorway, intangible to all but me, arms spread. With a casual flick of his nail, he sliced open a gas pipe. Blue fire roared down the corridor. I screamed Sarah's name, though she was miles away. Staff fled in chaos. Some never made it as ceiling tiles crashed, spewing molten plastic. My restraints melted first, then the mattress ignited beneath me. Pain became everything. The explosion punched consciousness from my skull. They found only fragments of 27 bodies. The blast cratered half the east wing, spewing debris 2 blocks. My corpse, blackened beyond recognition, was identified by dental records. News outlets blamed a ruptured gas main. Sarah did not attend the memorial. She hadn't answered my calls. She never heard my warnings. In the quiet ruin of our marriage, she wandered our house, numb. Blood from my second wish still stained the bedroom carpet. Crime scene tape fluttered in hallways like tattered prayer flags. She found the lamp while packing her things. It sat on my desk, dull as a dead star. Plastic and cloth lay in a heap beside it, note long since discarded. Sarah turned the lamp over in her hands, frowning at the intricate silver inlay that seemed almost to glow. She'd lost her husband, her faith, her future. So when the silence of the house pressed in too tight, when grief tasted like rust on her tongue, she whispered to the empty rooms, "If there's any magic left in the world, I wish I could undo all this pain." Her thumb rubbed the lamp's side, once, twice. Somewhere, in a wasteland of nightmares, Jin Al-Asa stirred and smiled.